So it's 18 contact points to the earth. 10 toes, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 contact points. And these are the points that we touch physically the earth if we walk barefooted. The blue part here is the valve, and it should be in the air, in a healthy foot. So unfortunately, shoes make our feet collapse, and we don't get that activation in the valve that we need. Because the valve is a construction built for millions of years to support the foot and to hold the structure. The valve is very powerful. If the valve collapses, the foot doesn't work like it's supposed to work. So in order to activate the valve, to make it come up, we need to become aware of the contact points. And one way to do that is to grab the earth with your toes and to move your balance around all these 9 contact points, 18 if you take both feet. So let's start with moving our feet. So you could stand like shoulder width apart and try to feel all your 10 toes. Maybe start in one foot. So you have 5 toes in that foot and try to grab the earth with those toes. Grabbing the earth is not a tension. It's just like an activation of your toes. And the other foot, the same thing. You touch the earth with your 5 toes. Then feel the contact points just behind your toes. There are 2 places behind your toes in each foot. So try to stand on those 2 points, 2 areas. And then shift your balance to the outside of the foot, because there's 1 contact point there on the outside, on each foot. And then of course the heel. Come back to your heels. Now move from your heels, both foot at the same time, on the outside of the foot, coming back behind your toes and into your toes and move slightly forward up, like you were going to jump. If you're standing on your toes and the front part of your foot. And then move on the outside of your foot back to your heels. And do this a couple of times, move back and forth, feeling the earth with your toes, feel the earth with all these contact points in your feet. 18 contact points that are touching the earth. It's a physical experience of connection. And then when you gently grab with your toes, you can feel how you activate your valve. Now, it's important that your foot is not coming out too much now, because it's very easy to drop the valve. So bring them straight and gently grab with your toes and move back and forth on the contact points and feel how the valve is activated. The valve should be in the air. If you go down, you can check and feel that there is space where the valve is, which means it's activated, it's in the air. So move around, checking the contact points, check that your valve is activated, and feel your physical connection to the earth. 18 contact points. So now we have the next little piece of information. I'm use myself for my drawings, but these are the rotation points. They're also energetical points, acupuncture points, but they're rotation points, physical rotation points for how we move the foot. So if you move on the front part of your feet, it's called the kidney well point. It's very important that your knee and your foot follow each other. because the turning should be in your hip. Then you shift to the heel and you're turning around your heel. Again, the knee and the foot follow each other and the turning is in the hip joint. Do the same on the other side, turning with the kidney well point in the front part of your foot. The knee and the hip follows. The turns completely in your hip and the knee and the foot goes along. Then you put your heel in and you turn around your heel. All turning should be in your hip joint. Why is this important? Because these 2 points you should never have activated at the same time when you turn. Because if they're touching the earth at the same time and you're turning, you destroy your knee. So if I'm standing and I want to turn my left foot and the contact points are both in the ground, I will start to twist my knee a little bit. So you have to make a choice every time you turn. You either turn on the front part of your foot or you turn on the heel. But you don't have both turning points in the ground at the same time because you will start to twist your knee. So this is very important in Tai no Tenkan, for example. Before you move, check which turning point you use. If you use the front turning point, you can turn around that. You can also use the heel and turn around your heel. This is the same if you touch the ground. You touch either with the front part or rolling from the back contact point. But don't touch the earth with the 2 contact points at the same time. So you either roll your foot or you touch with the front part and then drop the other one. So the physical touch and the physical turning, you have to make a choice. And your knee and your foot always should follow. They're in the same direction. They're built to be together. And the hip is built to turn. Now, let's move the balance a little bit. So we have the 18 contact points, physical contact points, and then we have the turning points. Now, let's move the balance around in a circle. And you go from one heel to the front part of your foot, to the other front foot, and then back to that heel and to the other heel. So you draw a circle and you feel the turning points and the contact points and all the connection points to the earth when you draw the circle. So the attention is now really in your feet. Feel which part of your foot is holding the balance. And then turn the other way, same thing. Feel the heels, the contact points, and move around in a circle. Now, let's stop and start to shift the balance back and forth. Feel the valve is up, activated. It's almost like you're going to jump. But instead of jumping, you fall back. Imagine you go to the limit of your balance. And the balance now can feel like a rope holding you. So you check the limit of your balance forward, and you check the limitations of your balance backwards. It's okay if you have to move, but try to keep. And explore the edge. The best way to find your balance is to lose your balance. So when you go to the edge of your balance, you can explore when the balance ends and when you have to bring yourself back with the connection down into the earth. And after feeling the edges of your balance, imagine your balance is between the two extremes. The extreme back and forth, so you can feel the balance is in between them. Now, another thing. When we stand, the image I have is that we are standing on mountains. And why I say mountains is because I use now 4 mountains. In each foot, there is one front mountain and one back mountain at the heel. So there are 4 mountains now. The mountain in the kidney well point, just behind your toes, and the mountain in your heels. So there is no mountain between your feet in this image. So when you're standing here, imagine you stand on the 2 front mountains, just behind your toes, kidney well point. Now shift, and you're standing on the mountains in your heels. Now shift your weight to your right heel. You're standing on a mountain in your right heel. You shift, standing on the mountain in the right front part of your foot. Now shift over to the left foot, standing on the mountain in the front part of your left foot. Now shift and stand on the mountain in the left heel. And come back to the middle. Now, in Aikido, we move a lot. So we solve a lot of balance problem with tenkan, emi tenkan, moving around. But from Tai Chi and Qigong, I learned without moving, how can we keep our balance? Well, one thing, it should never be static. It's always floating and moving, even if we don't move our feet. So you have 4 mountains now. If you imagine somebody push you from one side, you can slip over to the mountains in the other foot. And you can choose the front mountain or the back mountain. And then you can slip over to the other side. You can move forward, holding your balance on 1 mountain in front or 2 mountains in front. You can slip back, holding your balance on the mountains under your heels. But there is no mountain between your feet. So if your balance drops dead between your feet and somebody push you, you will go off. So even if you stand in the middle, always have the possibility of moving your balance. So the balance is never dead, it's never stuck. So the balance can move freely between these 4 mountains. And anytime you settle in the middle, you still feel the possibility of standing on all these mountains. So you can anytime shift to any mountain. So it's interesting if we don't move our feet, we put them in prison. So when they're in prison, we have to find another way, another freedom of moving inside the prison. So now we're moving our balance inside this prison and finding a way to keep our balance. And this teaches us something about our balance that we cannot learn when we move around. So as I said, the balance should never drop between your feet. It should always be floating between the contact points, between the mountains that you're standing on. So let's relax, and we'll go to another image. So what I'm showing now is not something you can just learn. It's something you have to study and feel and work on for many years for yourself. This is an image from a Mantak Chia. He shows how there are spirals going down in the legs and also in the arms and of course in the spine, but we focus on the grounding in the legs now. So these spirals extend down and they go in two directions. So to find this quality, you can start to imagine that your legs do not start in your hips. They start somewhere up in your chest or maybe up in your upper body. It's a big root coming down, creating your legs. And especially your tailbone and the lower back is very important for the legs. So the movement we're doing now is coming from your lower back and your sacrum area. And we will create a spiral out, and then we'll create a spiral in. And you can repeat this 1,000 times. Spiraling out, spiraling in. You could imagine you're grabbing the earth with two spirals, one going this direction and one going the other direction. So now we're coming more to an energetic experience of the grounding. So we still stand shoulder width apart. Now, from your back, imagine you turn outward. So your knees go slightly out. Your feet moves a little bit, but it's more a movement in the knees. Now, from your back, turn inward and repeat. So from your lower back, you turn outward. And from your lower back, turn inward. Like you're creating a spiral movement from your lower back through your legs deep down into the earth. And then you create the same spiral movement in the opposite direction. So this is a very interesting way to ground yourself, to turn the spirals back and forth. Since many of you do Aikido, we can do the same thing in Hami. So if you stand in Hami position, you can choose left or right. Now, the same feeling coming from your lower back, you open your knees, spiraling down. Then from your lower back, close your knees, spiraling the other way into the earth. Then you repeat this movement. Open your knees, spiral down, close your knees, spiral down. And of course, the energy can come the reversed way. It can come up to you back when you go down. But now we focus on the movement down. So the opening of the hips and the closing of the hips. So you gently move your knees out and gently move your knees in. In the beginning, it can be a very physical experience. Later on, it can be mostly in your mind. You can change to the other Hami. So from your lower back, you open your position, open your knees, then spiral in and grab the earth the other way. It's very important now you have your toes activated, because your toes help you to grab the earth and help you activate this energy of turning down, deep down into the earth, like grabbing the earth. So you open from your lower back and you close from your lower back. And relax. Now we come back to standing very simple, shoulder width apart like this. And we have the same feeling now, but very gentle. So you gently open your knees from your lower back and you gently close your knees from your lower back. You feel how you sink a little bit. You're dropping your tailbone, your spine opens. And imagine these two spirals are continuously being created down into the earth. And of course, there's an energy coming the opposite way up into you. But this is a way to connect deeply into the earth and ground yourself, grounding your lower body. It's a little bit like imagine you're a bird and you want to sit on a stick. So you don't want to fall off. So you grab the stick with your feet. Now we do the same thing, but we use a little spiral movement to grab the stick. And the stick is now also, of course, the earth. It's turning in, turning out, grabbing the earth. So I give you a few minutes and just do this by yourself. You can do it in Hammy position or in this shoulder width apart position. Just try to make a gentle movement, spiral out, spiral in. Let's explore another quality. Now we have grabbed the earth with our contact points, with our energetical points, with the mind of these spirals going up and down. So we're coming up to this area now and start to feel this area more. And the center, we could imagine the center is like a spinning wheel. And the spinning wheel, if you have ever held a spinning wheel, like a bicycle wheel, and it's spinning and you start to turn it, it's very stable because it's spinning around all the time. So this is for me an image of the center. And to find this spinning inside, if you have a jaw or a bokken or anything else that you can hold like this. So if I move this one with my hands, it creates one feeling. Now, I lock my hands and my arms here. Now, I grab the earth, have these spiral movements in my legs, standing on these mountains, grabbing the earth with my toes. The valve is activated. Now, I will begin to move the jaw with my center. And because I use my center to spiral the jaw, I can start to feel the spirals in my center. And you can change directions, so you can use it the other way. So these energies in your legs that you have created is not rigid, it's not blocking your movement, it's very free. It's just holding you on the earth. And now when you're spinning and you're moving your center, finding that axis point that creates the turning, it will be reflected in the jaw or whatever you're holding. Because we are not moving our hands, we're not moving our arms. We are moving our center and finding an internal turning point that is reflected in the movement in the jaw. So if I do it from the side, it looks like this. So it's a small movement, but it expands out in the jaw. So it's called I think is it the same word in English? Giro. It's a spinning around, and when you try to move this, it's very, very stable. And this is one image to keep in the center. Another important image is the holding of the center. And I say holding, but I think you could say also activating. Because if you just drop your center, it's hanging there. But the holding, you do with your third hand. So we have one hand, two hands, and the third hand holds your center. So when the third hand holds your center, it brings the navel a little bit in, and your tailbone drops and the spine opens. And the energy from the earth through your heels, through your tailbone, coming up into your spine is activated. So there's a gentle holding of a third hand, holding your navel a little bit. It's like a little tonus or activation in your center. And when you release that, the center is just hanging there. But when you create that, there is an activation of the center. Because we need to activate the center regularly. So we can, of course, rest in the center, but when we want to use the center, we need some kind of tonus, some kind of activation. So this movement of holding your center, dropping your tailbone, opening your lower back, feeling the earth energy through your heels, through your tailbone, up in your spine, up into the sky. So let's say I want to move my hands forward. We could say push, but push is not a good word, because if I push, I will probably fall forward. So what I do is expand. I expand from inside, expanding back, expanding forward. And when I expand back, the third hand is very important. The third hand holds my posture and activates my center. If I don't have the third hand and I push with two hands, I go forward. So in my imagination, I have one hand, two hands, and then the third hand holding my center. And it holds my posture, so I can use my hands forward because the third hand holds me. And then my back is open and the energy is activated in my back. This we can use in a hammy position also. We're standing in a hammy position. You have a third hand holding you, and when it holds you, you open your back, you activate your tailbone, you drop to the earth and feel the earth energy coming up through you. You can try the other hammy, the same thing. Third hand in your center, holding you, holding your posture. And feel when you release the third hand, what happens to your posture. So when the third hand holds your center, you can be easily straight and in balance. And there's a feeling of expansion between the hands and the back. And of course, this expansion goes also up and down and left and right. So I was very amazed when I met Mantak Chia and we did some exercises about balance, because I thought I knew something about hara and center. And then we learned about how to open the armpit. So when you close the armpit and somebody pushes you from the side, you easily lose your balance. But when you open the armpit, you activate the energy on the inside of the arm. So this energy helps you to keep your balance. So if we swing back and forth, check that there's space between your body and your arms. There's something in your armpit. So your shoulders expand, they don't just drop, they expand out and fall down. So when we have this expansion, if somebody pushes us from the side, we become much more balanced. The center becomes much stronger. So I thought this is very interesting, that if we just relax, we don't become very balanced. We need a presence of softness to expand, to create a good center. So there's not a lack of tension, there is a presence of relaxation, or presence of softness that makes our center stable. And this is some kind of expansion from inside. So let's turn around our axis and breathe a few times deeply. And imagine this expansion coming from inside. So the shoulders open. Think about the cat. The cat is not collapsed. It's full of energy, but it's soft. So the shoulders expand out, and there's space in the armpit, and there's space around your lower body, of course, also. the space in the body. Now we slow down and we go forward, breathing in, breathing out, coming back to your heels and holding the tree posture. So there are many things to say about this, but I want to emphasize one thing. This is again talking about expansion and relaxation. So we're standing in this tree posture. We have the third hand holding our center. We can feel the spirals in our legs. You feel the contact points, the valve, everything. And of course, there's a pull from the top of our head holding us up. But let's now try to grow the tree. And by growing the tree, I mean breathing in and expanding the tree. And breathing out and dropping into the earth, into the root system. Every time you breathe in, expand your tree up into the branches, into the sky. Every time you breathe out, drop deep down into the earth in the root system. Every time you breathe in, expanding, filling up. And then relax and sink down. And close your eyes and do this a couple of times, expanding and relaxing, sinking. And in the end, the two blend. So you can almost at the same time have a feeling of expansion and relaxation. And imagine if somebody would push you, not too strong now, but push you gently from the side. If you have this feeling of expansion and relaxation at the same time, you become very, very stable. And then we can try another tree. So we go feet parallel, straight, and we sink down and bring the tailbone a little bit forward. And then we bring up the arms, open the neck, we have the chin inside. Move your hands slightly back so you feel your shoulder blades come closer. So this is a more heavy, deep tree. And we can feel the spirals in the legs going out and going in into the earth. And we can feel the arms turning this way or this way, in or out. So the spirals in the arms going both ways. The spirals in your legs going both ways. And of course, there's a spiral in your spine going two ways too. So the spirals in your arms are reaching up for the sky, and your hands and your fingers. And the spirals in your feet are going deep down into the earth. We're really grounding ourselves. And the spine is open and straight. And then we relax. And shake the body a little bit. So this is an image from a Japanese sword school. It's a sign for Shin, or spirit, or heart, or mind. And it's in the middle of a box. And the meaning is we should keep our mind in the middle of ourselves so that we can move in any direction. So if my mind is in the middle of myself, in my axis, I can cut in every direction. So coming back to this position here, holding something, not moving the hands, not moving the arms, and finding that inner place that we turn around, an axis point in our center, that the wheel is turning around. So this is where our mind, our center is. but it doesn't mean that our balance should be there. The balance is in the feet. It can move between the feet. It can move and shift over from one foot to the other, but it's not hanging from our center. So the center quality and the balance are two separate things for me. The center quality is just an axis inside that keeps us stable. But the balance is something different, because the balance, we should be able to shift and move freely. It's floating around. And this comes to a quality I've been talking about: grounded center and floating center. It's just a simple way to explain that when the center is grounded, we are holding the earth, grabbing the earth. But any moment, the center should be able to float. But when the center is floating, it should not lose its quality of centering. So the centering, the movement inside, or the spiral inside, is always there. And sometimes it's grounded because we grab the earth, and sometimes it's floating because we're also free to move anytime. So let's come back to the first thing. Feel the 18 contact points, your toes, 5 toes in each foot. Feel the connection behind your toes. Feel the contact point on the outside of the foot. And feel the connection in your heels. And move around these contact points. Feel how you can touch the earth with these 18 points. How they work together. How you can release them and connect them to the earth. Then feel the turning points. The energetical point in the heel and the kidney well point in the front part of your foot. And turn one foot around that place. So you free your hip and you follow the movement with your knee. And feel how you touch with your heel and you turn in your hip joint. The knee and your foot is following. And then come to the other leg. Again, the front kidney well point, turning in the hip joint. Knee and foot is always connected. Then turning in your heel, knee and foot is connected. And now put them both in the ground and swing back and forth. Feel the energetical connection points, the front part of your foot and your back part of the heel. And check how your balance moves back and forth and feel the limitations of your balance. And try to find your balance in between. And then imagine 4 mountains, 2 mountains in each foot. And you move around these mountains. And those mountains are the most important contact points to the earth now. And there is no mountain between your feet. And come back. Feel how you're standing on these 4 mountains. You can move back and forth, you can move sideways, but there's always a possibility to slide your balance. It's always free to move, even if you're standing with the balance equally between your 2 feet. Now, the spirals, opening your knees, closing your knees, coming from the lower back. And we can try in hammy position. We open and close. Open and close. spiraling outward down, spiraling inward down, spiraling outward down and inward down, and then stop. Stop and feel the spirals continuing down, holding you, and your toes activated. And change your hammy position. From your lower back, you open. And then close your lower back. Spiraling outward down, spiraling inward down. Spiraling outward down, spiraling inward down. Grabbing the earth and then stop. Feel your toes activated and the spirals outward, inward, grounding you into the earth. And relax. Now a little bit the upper body. There's much more to say about the upper body, but let's just open the armpit. So relax and feel how your shoulders drop out and down. And there's space between your arms and your body. Very important. And we turn and feel this space expanding. Space in your armpits. Feel the energy on the inside of your arms. And coming back. Now we have the energy on the inside of the legs. Here are the yin meridians on the inside of the legs. The energy from the earth coming up through the inside of your legs. So you touch the inside of your leg and activate the yin energy coming up. And then you push down the outside of your legs, relaxing the yang energy on the outside of your legs. So it's also the spirals. So when we open the knees, we're spiraling out into the earth here. And when we close our knees, put the feet and the knees together, we are spiraling inward, down into the earth, from the spine. So there's the inward spiral and the outward spiral. And relax. Now put your shoulder width apart and look inside your hips. And draw a big circle with your hips. Smooth circle around with your hips. Feeling the edge of your balance. And go the other way. And come into the center. Now, imagine you draw a circle with your tailbone, touching the earth with your tailbone. One direction and the opposite direction. And the tailbone is receiving energy from the earth into your spine. Comes through your heels, into your tailbone, into your spine. You're drawing a circle, both directions with your tailbone. Now swing your tailbone back and forth, also touching the earth with your tailbone. Feel how your spine connects to the earth through your tailbone. Now move your tailbone from side to side, touching the earth with your tailbone. And come back into the center. Now, the third hand, put your hand on your center, and with the other hand, move forward. We can stand in a hammy position now. Many people are more used to this. So you imagine the third hand on your center, and the other two hands expanding. And when you do this, you feel how your back opens. Your back, your posture is held because there's a third hand holding your center. And you can do it in left and right hammy. Feel how your spine opens, your chin comes in, and your top of your head is touching the sky. So I haven't talked so much about the upper part, but I wanted to focus on the lower part now. So the third hand holding our posture, holding our center, and when it's there, the tailbone drops, the spine opens. So we can move forward but always containing our balance with our center and the third hand. So let's just end and relax. Turning around our axis, relaxing. And slow down. And stand on one leg. Keep the balance down and up. And release the other leg. Release the leg and the hip joint. And start to kick. You kick and you relax the hip, you relax the leg, you relax the knee and the foot, and relax your breath. Now extend your heel, push your heel forward. Now extend your toes forward. Now extend your heel forward. Now extend your toes forward. Now open the outside of your leg. Now open the inside of your leg. Put the foot in the ground and find your balance down and up. Relax the other leg. One leg is holding, one leg is opening. Release. Release your hip joint and start to kick. Relaxing your hip, your leg, your knee, your foot. Open your toes, your breath. And stretch your heel. And stretch your toes. And stretch your heel. And stretch your toes. And open the outside of your leg. Open the inside of your leg. And put the foot down. And bend your legs a little bit. Bending your legs. And lift your kneecaps. And rub your backside of your knee. Okay, so I see time is out. So before we end, one last time, put your feet in the ground. Feel the contact points. Feel the turning points. Feel the energy from the spirals going down. And of course, the energy coming up through you. Feel your tailbone dropping. Feel your third hand holding you, holding your posture. Feel how your spine is open. There's space in your armpits. Relaxing your arms, shoulder expanding, softness. Your neck is open, your chin naturally drops inside. And there's a gentle pull from the top of your head, holding you up. Take a deep breath. Feel the earth under you and the sky above you. Okay, thank you.